why preventative care is significantly undervalued by most people. This is one of the challenges that we are seeing in general practice, that people just don't see the value. They're like, why isn't it bulk billed anymore? Why won't you accept $39 as your upfront revenue for seeing me for 15 minutes before you pay the practice, before you pay the tax, before you pay your expenses? You're like, dude, I'm getting like $15. I'm getting $10. And they might say, well, what are you doing? You know, I just come in and I see you and that's all. You know, it's nothing important. It's not valuable. But I want you to understand that the problem with humans valuing preventative care is that it happens over a longer time. It doesn't happen in 3 days or 5 days or even 3 weeks or 5 weeks or perhaps even 5 years. But eventually the failure to have good preventative care catches up with humans and something happens. And it's not often that we actually get to see a visualization of this. I can tell the stories of the 50-year-old, the 60-year-old, the 7-year-old who refused to look after themselves, how they continued to smoke or they failed to deal with their obesity or whatever it was, but they ended up living in a situation that was very difficult. While they got away with not doing the work of preventative care early, either they didn't listen or they weren't able to, or they just didn't pay enough money to go to the gym or do whatever was required, get the dietitian involved, and instead they suffered for years and years with multiple difficult medical conditions. So I got an example of this. Now I just got to work out how to make this thing turn around. Maybe I can't. Right, here it is. All right, check this out. This is Preventative Care 101 right here. What you're looking at is 2 lychee trees. The one on the left I got about 6 weeks ago, and the one on the right I got yesterday. You might say, well, whoa, what's happened here? This is clearly a case of gross neglect. Look at this one. I mean, it is burnt to a cinder. It literally has potentially no life in there. I don't know if it's dead totally or whether it might come back. And look at this one. This one's green, vibrant. So what happened here? Well, the one on the left that's dead and dry, it got neglected. It did not get the preventative care. Now, in this case, there was 2 major pieces of preventative care that had to happen. Number 1, it needs to be watered daily. And that did not happen. And number 2, it needed to get out of that pot and into the ground, and that also did not happen. One was a short-term preventative care, daily watering. One was a long-term, get it in the ground. Now, could it have survived on ongoing watering? Yeah, sure. Sure, it could have, but it was left at risk of an error. My error. What was that error? Well, we had some people stay at the house and I didn't tell them to water it and say, hey, this is important, water this tree, and so it got neglected. That preventative care didn't happen, and the outcome, dead tree. Now, this happened over the space of 4 weeks, pretty quick. But compared to human beings, look, the changes don't happen that fast. They happen over years. And it may not seem that important whether the preventative care gets done today or in a week or in a month's time or maybe even 6 months. But as it gets left for years and years and years, then we end up with a situation with the human being like on the left where they're dried out and they're suffering and it's potentially impossible to get it back. If the human's still alive, then yeah, we might be able to make their life a bit better, but they're never going to have the same chance as that one on the right here. That green one, that if it gets in the ground and if it gets watered, then it will have a potentially long and vigorous life, perhaps even ending up. Come and check this out. Now, this one over here, this was a lychee that got in the ground and it got watered, and you can see the size difference. I mean, it is just a phenomenally large tree. It produced about 25 lychees. It's got a bunch on there at the moment, but I've been eating them, so it's been really good. But that tree started out much like that other one, or much like both of them. But one ended up like this, big, strong, producing fruit, and one ended up dead. The difference? Preventative care. daily steps taken towards the nourishment and the growth of that tree. And it's the same in general practice. It's just that when people come in for a cough and cold, they don't think about the long-term consequences. And we've done a relatively poor job of promoting this to people and saying, you know what? We're not dealing with the coughs and colds. We're not even dealing with the appendicitis. What we are dealing with is the prevention of the serious long-term diseases. And if you don't want to be losing a leg or having a heart attack or losing a function of half your body, then you should value me as your general practitioner. They should value you as their general practitioner. And this message has not been well conveyed at all. We are not dealing with the acute anymore. We are dealing with the prevention of serious, unpleasant, difficult, life-threatening, severely disabling diseases. And that is the value of general practice. If you got some value out of this, type me up a comment. Let me know what you thought. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you on another episode as we continue this journey into fixing GP in Australia. See you then.